Hello everyone, welcome back to the Movie Reviewers 100. My name is Scott, also known as Cineram. I am holding down the fort here on this collab channel while some of the other guys are busy with other stuff. Hopefully they'll be back with weekly videos soon. But in the meantime, I am bringing to you reviews of movies that have basically just opened. I'm trying to review a new one each week. I hope that you are enjoying that. It seems that you are, because we've been getting lots and lots of new hits on our Facebook page, which we really appreciate. We have made a habit of doing themes in the past. If you would like us to focus on a particular actor, actress, director, genre, movie series, what have you, leave us a comment on this video or on the Facebook page. A link to that is below in the description. We would love to hear from you. Jason Bourne just opened. Jason Bourne is the latest movie featuring the character of, you guessed it, Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne was created by Robert Ludlum in a series of novels, the first one being The Bourne Identity, which of course was made into a film in 2002, directed by Doug Liman and starring Matt Damon. Matt Damon has gone on to appear in 3 other Jason Bourne movies, all which take their titles, well, most of which take their titles from Ludlum novels. The Bourne Supremacy came out in 2004, and The Bourne Ultimatum came out in 2007. And although they retained the titles, they really didn't retain much of the plot. The plot was basically invented entirely by the screenwriters and producers of the films, rather than adhere strictly to the books. I actually tried reading the first Bourne book, The Bourne Identity, but I didn't really get into it, mostly because it was so different from the film. I know that's terrible of me. I should have given it a chance, at least read the whole thing, but it just didn't, I don't know, work for me, whatever. And I know that the other books are very different, so maybe I had to give them a chance. It wouldn't be a bad thing to read a book every now and again. I'm actually reading a book right now, but it's I read it a little bit of a time, on public transportation rather, because whenever I'm sitting somewhere, I'm usually always online. Anyway, as far as my history with the Bourne series, I saw all of them in the theater. I actually went to see the new movie in the exact same theater that I saw the first movie in back in 2002. So that was kind of cool. I tend to remember which theaters I go to in the Chicagoland area. The second one I saw in the city, and the third one I saw in the city as well, in the downtown Magnificent Mile area. If you're familiar with Chicago, that's where the huge cluster of office buildings and the highest line shops are. And the Bourne Legacy, I saw that one as well, and actually I liked that movie very much. A lot of people rag on it just because it doesn't star Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, and that there's some other story elements they don't like. I think it's a very strong film, and I'm actually kind of surprised that Tony Gilroy took the job to do it, because he didn't, according to Matt Damon, he didn't put very much effort into the Bourne Ultimatum. He dashed off the first draft, took the money and ran, and they were sort of left holding the bag. They had to kind of make it up as they went along as they were shooting, which might explain why there are dumb lines like, "This isn't some story in a newspaper, this is real," and there's a lot of other dumb things that happen in that movie. Not really a fan of the Bourne Ultimatum. The Bourne Supremacy, the Bourne Identity, I like those very much. They're quite good. And I think probably for me, the high point of this series was the Bourne Supremacy. At the end, Matt Damon finds the Russian daughter of a couple that he killed and tells her what really happened. It wasn't a murder-suicide. He is the one that was responsible, and that's a really good scene. And a high point from Matt Damon. Now, the critic from my local paper, I've been reading him for a very long time, ever since I was a teenager, and he gave The Bourne Supremacy 4 out of 4 stars, his highest rating. Career best performance from Matt Damon, he said. This newest movie, he gave 1.5 stars out of 4 too. That's really bad. That's a really bad rating. And I was really surprised that the reviews have been as terrible as they were. I mean, not all of them are terrible, but most of them are way worse than, you'd expect from a Bourne movie. I mean, pretty much the Bourne Ultimatum got really good reviews, despite the fact that I didn't like it very much. So I was kind of wary about this movie. I didn't see it opening weekend. I just saw it last Tuesday, which was 2 days ago, actually. But I actually liked it for the most part. I don't like it as much as Legacy, but I do like it more than Ultimatum. Ultimatum really seems like a carbon copy of Supremacy in a lot of ways, right down to the chase scene that ends with a big crash, and then Bourne has the opportunity to shoot and kill the guy that was pursuing him, but decides not to do it, spares his life, and walks away. And that happens in both Supremacy and Ultimatum, and I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me, this is just lazy. Jason Bourne, rather unimaginatively titled, I'd say. I wish they would have gone with something else other than just Jason Bourne. Hey, it's a Jason Bourne movie called Jason Bourne, as if these movies haven't been airing on TV all the time, every single week for the past few years. Basically, he is brought out of hiding, basically. He's basically making money by brawling. You know, he's in some isolated part of Greece where there's no internet, no security cameras to pick up his face or anything like that. Just getting by day, but then he's contacted by Julia Stiles, who plays the character of Nicky, who has been in the series since the first movie, that she's got some new information from him that he might be interested in about himself and the family connection that he has to the training program that made him the, expert assassin that he is. Things go badly that way when she makes contact with him, and so that sets Jason on a mission to find out who is responsible for this, who is responsible for getting his family involved in the program, and also he is being pursued by another assassin who is significantly older than him, but has a lot of experience and has continued to work in an unofficial capacity, I guess, for the CIA, whose director is played by Tommy Lee Jones in this movie. One thing that I'm not crazy about is the fact that they just have a whole new set of guys at offices that are tracking Bourne, despite the fact that none of them have been in any of the previous movies. I think that Scott Glenn managed to live through Ultimatum okay. I can't remember if Albert Finney lived through. They make, passing reference to them. And I can't remember if they mention Joan Allen's character, Pamela Landy, who is a good element of the second and third movies. I don't think so. She's, Joan Allen does not appear in the movie, unfortunately. It's a whole new cast of characters, aside from Bourne and Nicky. Alicia Vikander, of course, has been in a lot of very acclaimed movies lately. The Danish Girl, Ex Machina, a bunch of other stuff. And she is working for Tommy Lee Jones at the CIA, trying to track down Bourne. But she ends up possibly being an ally rather than someone who's just trying to take him out or capture him or whatever. She ends up, doubting the motives of Tommy Lee Jones and the guys who are working for him. So she is secretly also trying to figure out ways to help Bourne, because she realizes that, the best outcome for this is not to kill Bourne or just let him out in the world. The best thing would be to somehow convince him to bring him back in the agency and get them working for him again, get him working for them again. So there's a question there as to, will she be able to pull this off, and will Bourne, accept an offer like this? He's been a rogue element. He's been out there on his own ever since the movie started, really. Ever since the series started. So yeah, there's that as well. Vincent Cassell plays the assassin. I really like Vincent Cassell a lot. He's been the best thing for me in movies like A Dangerous Method and Black Swan. In this movie, he's basically just another sort of emotionless killer. That's the thing about movies like this, is that everyone is just sort of like very, very cold. It's really hot in Chicago, so I was looking forward to seeing a cool movie with cool characters, and they're not just cool, they're cold. Yeah, there's that. The set pieces in this movie, there's three really big ones. There's a couple of smaller skirmishes, but we've got a big one in the beginning, which takes place in Athens. Bourne and Nicky riding around on a motorcycle as they're trying to evade people capturing them while riots happening. There's a set piece in the middle of the movie involving Bourne trying to make contact with someone who might have some information from him, and they're both being tracked by the agency, by Tommy Lee Jones and Alicia Vikander and Vincent Cassell. And then the finish of the movie takes place in Las Vegas, where there's this whole convention happening, and Tommy Lee Jones and Alicia Vikander and Vincent Cassell and Bourne, Matt Damon are all there, basically, and so things kind of come to a head, and there's a big chase scene, which kind of changes things up from the usual way in which Bourne is being chased around and manages to escape. Instead, he's the one doing the pursuing, which is kind of a nice change of pace, and the scene is heavy, heavy, heavy on the destruction. Yeah, I can't tell you how many, innocent bystanders, got killed or seriously hurt in this movie when, we've got a SWAT truck, basically, a stolen SWAT truck, driving through a whole fleet of cars. You've probably seen that clip in the trailer, and just smashing them to bits as it passes by. Yeah, it's pretty intense. I think probably my favorite set piece is the one in the middle. But it's hard to pick just one. They're all so different from each other. Probably not the first one. I might have to go with the last one, just because it's so extreme. Paul Greengrass, of course, is the director of this movie. Doug Liman did the first movie, but Paul Greengrass has pretty much owned the Jason Bourne franchise ever since he sort of established that look for the second movie. And I think that if these movies came out in the 90s, I would have hated them, just because the handheld camera work and the editing is just so haphazard and crazy. It really I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to the style of movies like this over the course of over how many years they've been popular. So yeah, if I were to watch this movie back in if I had, watched this movie back in the 90s, I would have been like, I hate this thing, man. The camera work's so sloppy, the editing doesn't make sense. Why couldn't they, plan out, action, like George Miller does with Mad Max Fury Road. Those are all carefully designed set pieces with carefully constructed shot sequences, whereas this one is just like, set up a whole bunch of cameras, shoot everything, and then cut it together, at the end. So I don't hate it. But yeah, it's not a patch on the first couple of movies. I like it better than Ultimatum, but it's only by a little bit, really. There's also a subplot involving social media that a lot of people have complained about. It really isn't that big of a deal. They spend just a brief amount of time on it here and there. Yeah, it's okay. It's an okay movie. That's probably the best that I can say about it. Yeah, some good action. Yeah, ultimately, you wouldn't be harming yourself if you're a fan of Jason Bourne by just ignoring the movie altogether. So yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot of really great stuff that's come out so far this summer. I mean, Captain America and Star Trek have sort of been the highlights, but I ended up skipping a whole bunch of new movies just because, well, they don't look that great. And sometimes I feel like I just want to go out to the theater and see something just because it's been so long since I've seen anything. As far as the mainstream stuff goes, the big sort of Hollywood films. And I think probably that's been to my benefit. I've probably saved a lot of time and money by just ignoring things like Legend of Tarzan and some other stuff that just didn't interest me. But Suicide Squad comes out next week, and I am interested in that, despite what the tomato meter says. I don't really rely on the tomato meter. I go by individual critical opinions, people whose opinions are similar to my own, or at least have interesting things to say about films. I am actually not reading any reviews of Suicide Squad or watching any review videos of Suicide Squad until I see it, which will probably be on Saturday, but I will have a review of that movie for you next week on Thursday. Thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it. A modest recommendation for Jason Bourne, not an enthusiastic one, but a modest one. If you like Jason Bourne, you'll probably like it. I mean, if you like these movies so far, you'll probably get into it. Yeah, like I said, you wouldn't be doing yourself any harm by skipping it altogether, or at least waiting for it to come out on Blu-ray or something. Thanks very much for watching. See you again next week. Appreciate it very much. Bye.